Okay, folks, we are back for the second half of the Reg.A Money Show. And as promised, we have a major attorney here to talk about Reg.A, Reg.CF. Let's welcome to the show Lou Bevilacqua. Lou, how you doing today?
Doing awesome. Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure, our pleasure. Now, Lou, before we get started, tell us really quickly, you're based in Washington, D.C. Tell us about yourself and your company really fast.
Sure, yeah. We're the name of the firm is Bevilacqua, PLLC. We're a boutique corporate and securities law firm. We're made up of a handful of attorneys that have big law backgrounds. Everybody's been at large international law firms. And now we practice in a boutique setting. And a lot of our focus, we focus on representing entrepreneurs ranging from, basically startup companies to companies listed on major exchanges. And a large focus of our work is on Jobs Act financing. So, Regulation CF, which we're going to talk about, Rule 506C, and Regulation A.
All right, great. So you do the whole gamut of everything as well. And it was good meeting you at a conference in New York a couple of weeks ago. That was how we actually met. And then, of course, one thing led to the other. We get him on the show. Miguel, this is great, isn't it? This is
it's awesome.
The Reg.A Money Show.
It's awesome. And Lou, me and Ron are really big proponents to Reg.A, specifically Reg.A Tier 2, because we think that Tier 2 really has a lot of sizzle to it. But, to get into the nitty-gritty with you, because we love having, and our listeners know, listening to the Reg.A Money Show with Ron Costa and Miguel Dotres, that they're going to get industry professionals who have their hands in the industry, who are actually doing the offerings, who are actually doing the disclosures, and who are writing these offering statements up, be it CF, be it 506, be it A1s. So we really would want to know from you, because our listeners are always giving us some feedback. And a lot of the times what we get, Ron, and tell me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times what we get, Lou, is guys wanting to figure out what is the advantage between the crowdfunding and, say, 506. And, so can you give us, high level, 30,000 foot, flying above the plane? Could you give us what an entrepreneur startup would want to look at, the advantages and disadvantages between crowdfunding, CF, and then the 506?
Yeah, sure. So, and by the way, they can do both a Reg CF and a 506C offering concurrently, so they don't necessarily have to pick one or the other. But I love Reg CF. I think it's great for entrepreneurs, and the Jobs Act and the changes coming out of the Jobs Act, Title III in particular, allowing entrepreneurs to have this additional access to capital has been great. It's kind of the first time in maybe 20 years that I've seen an SEC law change that actually helps entrepreneurs. So very happy with it. Basically, what you do is you have to, you could raise up to $1,070,000. Used to be $1 million. They had a cost of living increase, so now it's $1,070,000. And you could sell securities to both accredited and non-accredited investors. So that's one big difference compared to a Rule 506C offering, is that you can actually sell to non-accredited investors. And what you basically do is you have to prepare an offering statement. It's called a Form C. And it's probably shorter than a PPM, so instead of being 60 pages, maybe it's 25 or 30 pages, but it has the kind of disclosure you'd expect: description of the company, risk factors, description of the securities being sold, description of who the management team is, et cetera. You also need to include financial statements. You need to include 2 years of reviewed financial statements, so they do not have to be audited. And basically, that's for most deals. So basically, if you're raising less than $100,000, then you don't need reviewed financial statements. If you're raising more than $100,000 and it's your first time doing a Reg CF offering, then you need 2 years reviewed financial statements. And if your company's less than 2 years old, then it's basically from inception until current. So you put together this Form C offering statement, you file it with the SEC, and there's no SEC review, so there's no regulatory delay. As soon as you're done, you can post your deal on a funding portal. Now, you have to post your deal on a single funding portal. These funding portals are regulated by FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. So now, in addition to regulating broker-dealers, FINRA also regulates funding portals. And there are probably over 30 funding portals now. So once you file your Form C with the SEC, you would post it on a funding portal. You'd put up your video. You'd put up your company summary. You'd put up your Form C disclosure. You'd also have your investment documents there. And then you can advertise and generally solicit your offering, again, to both accredited and non-accredited investors. Try to drive as much traffic as you can to the offering page. And when the investor gets to the offering page, they basically click on Invest Now. They could review all the materials first, of course, and they can ACH the money into an escrow account and sign all the documents electronically. So it's a great way for early stage companies, especially if they have an affinity group, whether it's customers or some other group that supports their initiative, to come and invest in the company.
Now, Lou, right on the heels of that, Ron and I are always talking about, audits, okay? Because one of the things that we deal with a lot of auditors here on the show. We have, Malone and Bailey, Steve Bertucci that joins us. He's a friend of the show's. We have the guys over at RRPR that always join us. But let me ask you a question. So if I'm going to have my offering, my CF offering reviewed, it has to be done by a PCAOB auditor. It can't just be done by any CPA firm, correct?
Well, actually, for Reg.CF, you do not need to have a PCAOB auditor.
So it's just a regular CPA can do a reviewed opinion letter of my financial statements, 2 years. If I'm older than 2 years, 2 years, or if I'm younger than 2 years, inception audit, and you're saying that any qualified CPA can do that?
Yes, and if you're raising less than $100,000, you don't need to have reviewed statements. They can be statements that are prepared by management. If it's over $100,000 and it's your first time, then reviewed financial statements are sufficient. If it's your second time and it's over $100,000, then I believe you actually need an audit.
Right. So what we're saying, what Ron and I always say, because there are a lot of people who jump into the Reg.A Tier 1, and they're saying, I don't need an audit. I can just do a Tier 1, and I can raise money doing a Reg.A Tier 1. And we always say to them, well, you're going to have to pay for the review of your financials. You're going to have to might as well go ahead and get them audited and get into the habit of getting your financials audited, so that way when you move from, and I guess we can talk about this in the second question or so, but when you move to that next tier of reporting, okay, of fully reporting, because let's say you take your CF or your 506, and now you want to move up to, like, let's say a Reg.A, okay, and you want to move up to the Reg.A Tier 2. You've already gone through the basics of audited financials through a PCAOB firm, right? And now you're moving up, and now can my CF investors or my simultaneously doing a 506 investors, can my investors be selling shareholders as part of my Reg.A Tier 2?
Yeah, it is possible. I think there's a limit in Reg.A Tier 2 of 15% of the securities being sold. So you take the total amount, and 15% can be selling shareholder shares. So, that's definitely a possibility where you can say to investors in the Reg.CF that we're also planning to do a Reg.A, and, we'll register a portion of your shares or your entire shares for resale. But I think, that's not necessarily ideal, because you really want to have, from the company's perspective, because the company wants to raise the money, right? It doesn't want the money going to selling stockholders who just recently invested. So, you could always file a resale Reg.A separately, or a resale S1 if they become a reporting company later on, to help your shareholders who invested in the Reg.CF get some liquidity. Or they can, you could have them wait a year, and then they'd be they'd be able to free up their stock under Rule 144.
Yeah, so they did that, holding it. So CF is subject to 144, but there would be no market for those shares, no public market if the company didn't file registration statement with the SEC, because a lot of the guys, a lot of the listeners, guys, and as you know, you're listening to the Reg.A Money Show with Miguel Dotres, Ron Costa, and fortunately for us, we have Lou and Bevilacqua with us.
Lou B.
Okay,
Lou B is good enough.
All right, with us on the show, and as you know, we're talking all things that have to do with the Jobs Act, and fortunately for us, Lou has come with us with a little bit of expertise in his firm's expertise in crowdfunding, 506, and all you guys out there that are your startups and you're new to market guys should be also listening to this, because I think that he pointed out a couple of things, especially the 506 and concurrently the CF. So I come to you. Lou, I sit down at the desk. Me and Ron are partners in this little startup of ours, and we say, Lou, we want to raise $5 million. We have a small investor pool. We have a small affinity group. We want to go Reg.A. We've never done any offering except for a small 506 that we did 30 investors that were non-qualified, and all our other investors are qualified. What are you thinking is going to be the best vehicle for us? And what? Go ahead. No. Go ahead. You finish, because I was going to say to you, we're done. So what do you think we should do?
Yeah, I guess if your plan is ultimately to go public, I think the best route to that is to start out with a Reg.CF. You could try to raise up to the $1 million. Number one, you'll get a sense of how well you do at crowdfunding, right? And you'll get an idea of what's involved and whether the typical crowdfunding investors like your company. And so you can do that, raise the $1 million, and from there you'll probably pick up several hundred shareholders. I've had a client. One of my clients is a company called 2020 Gene Systems. They did a Reg.CF on the MicroVentures platform. They raised the full regulatory maximum $1.07 million, and now they're doing a Reg.A offering on the Seed Invest platform. They got a lot of momentum from the Reg.A, and now they're taking that momentum and they're bringing it to the they got a lot of momentum from the CF offering, and now they're taking that momentum and bringing it to the Reg.A offering.
Yes, I remember Gene 2020. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, that momentum came off of a little show, a little podcast called the Reg.A Money Show. No,
I think that's where it all started.
Yeah, exactly. We had Jonathan Cohen on the show a while back. So yeah, well let's just say that was the impetus of it, right?
It's a great company, and I highly recommend that your listeners check it out. But it's a great path, and so they picked up thousands of investors through the Reg.CF offering, and now when they go public, and when that stock gets freed up, they're going to have. If I don't know if they're going to go on the over-the-counter market or not ultimately, but if they do, they will have a base of people who are passionate about them and their product, who are interested in their stock, and I believe that'll create a nice trading market. I can give you another example. There's a company called Apex Farms, which is a very small company. Basically, it's a brand new company that was formed, and the entrepreneur Alex Leo is his name, licensed in some technology relating to hydroponic farming. They have this great system where you can basically it'll increase by 10 the amount of crops that you can grow on a piece of land. And so all they had in the company initially was this technology, and they went and this was on the MicroVentures platform. They raised $200,000 at a very reasonable valuation, $1 million valuation. That was money that they desperately needed, and now they already have filed for a Reg.A offering.